Help you with this Ryder here with the review of the Kamen Rider Geats DX Vision Driver. So this is I guess this is now a trend they're doing within these toy lines. Anyways, so this is for the sake of this is technically the second DX driver within the series, to which this is used by the game masters of the DGP. As you can see from here, we have Kamen Rider, and then, it is neat that they're like the box is matted out and such. The top has our third Rider, Goyer 2, because they were lazy to not put them on here. This is a China release. Alright, that's definitely interesting, to collectibles. Yeah, this is a China release. That's interesting. Here's the contents. DGP. Where are the... Does this not have a QR code? For the PDF file? And then here's the back with Gazer. I mean, it's probably more appealing, but... I would have just had to clean out an earwig out of that box. That's what Zyken gets for not taking care of anything. So, here are the belt straps for this thing. It's basically just the Desire Driver straps, but now purple. Like, they didn't even bother changing this. It might be a different shade, but honestly, I don't know. But we will show you how to apply this one, because this one is actually different. So, due to this part, like putting it on the right side is pretty straightforward, as you can see, but putting it on the left is interesting, as you actually need to slide. You need to slide this strap through until it reaches up to this part, and then you clip it in like so. And then basically you put in the Providence card holder, slide that in like a raised buckle holder like so, and then slide in the cover, clip them like so, and yeah, here we have the Vision Driver fully buckled, which is pretty neat overall. I do like how this belt is constructed when you actually wear it. I like how full it is in a way, without it just being holders and such, so I think that's pretty neat. Though we are gonna just do the entire review without these belt straps, even though technically they are required. But the issue obviously is that let's remove this strap. The issue is that if we do keep that, due to how this is done, you do keep this basically belt or strapped, you are gonna permanently bend this, and we obviously don't want that. So just slide that like so, and just basically strap it like so. But yeah, wasting a lot of time with this. The Vision Driver, overall, I mean, I guess it's decent in a way of just being very simplistic. Like the front is mostly black with these purple traces trims, and then this red. And I do, or down here too. I really do like how the bottom and top are mirrored because I prefer it when they actually have that. It's just that obviously the bottom doesn't have that speaker cut nor the fingerprint symbol. To which, interestingly, this is actually not a button. It's actually a touch sensitive pad, which is pretty interesting. Just to actually make it more premium. But other than that, you know, the back is pretty basic overall. This requires 4 AAAs. No. I think it requires 4 AA's. This one actually requires 3, but that's definitely strange. The fact this one actually requires less than the Demon's driver is interesting. But then, other than that, if we move on to the side here, we get the red on the belt, and then here we have what is the raised buckle reader and such, which is pretty neat overall. It's basically, I like that it's basically a raised buckle holder. It's just that it actually has a reader, but it's also just here just to justify this thing actually existing, and so then it can actually be compatible. Obviously, this is permanently attached because it has to be, because there's a wire running through here, which is why this is really solid and such, which I'm really glad is the case. Yeah, that's basically it for that. And then here we have the Providence card holder, to which again the back of it's red with the front of it black. We can slide the Providence card out like so to have this detail in. It's, you know, pretty neat overall and such. And obviously, as you can see from here, this is the Providence card, or as you might have first noticed it as a Laser Raise Riser card, to which I kind of would have preferred the Laser Raise Riser cards, or just called Providence cards, because that's a better name to say. And I really do like how this one looks overall. It's not the same as the Laser Raise Riser cards. As you can tell, it's basically its own thing. As you can see from here to the point, this one actually doesn't have any pins. So meaning that basically when you use it in the Laser Raise Riser, it's not going to do anything. To compare, here is the Belroba Laser Raise Riser card. You can tell the decals, I think is the name, don't stretch as far as this one, because you can tell this one's actually specifically molded for this, and then these ones are molded. Like, there's a lot of differences. Like, these cards are thicker than this one, and the biggest thing is that this one's actually smaller and rounder, because and you can tell they're actually like 2 slightly different colors of clear plastic. This one's more whiter than the Laser Raise Riser cards, because when you try to line these up, they actually don't line up. Interestingly and such. Like here, this is longer and thinner than the Laser Raise Riser. This is rounded out for the Laser Raise Riser and not here. It still has like the hexagons here, but then like this gap here is a lot, like in the case like here, this is more longer and pointier than where it is here. And the back, again, basically it's just thinner and longer and such. Just, again, just pretty interesting that they went through all this way just to make this one different from these ones, because you would have think they would just reused the same mold, but they surprisingly didn't. Because if I were to attempt to use this card in here, it actually can't fit due to the fact this is too big and such. Because you can see like the buttons, see like the button here and such. But then also just because of, again, there's not enough clearance for, because of the slope, you can't push it down and such. So it's just really interesting overall. And because of that, like if we were to use it in the Laser Riser again, it does still fit, obviously, and it actually looks pretty decent in here. If we were to insert it like so, as you can see, it looks pretty nice in there and such, even from the back. And like being in the Laser Riser actually helps center it. So like we kind of knew this wasn't going to do anything in here, but like, you know, it's at least cool that you can still do this. And obviously, like, the finishers are the same. It would have been cool if there was a way just for it to, like, I guess do something else, but I understand that, like, you know, we at least have another card to that technically can go in here, even if it doesn't do anything. So this is the only thing that I'm going to passionately talk about, because I also had to bring this up because the camera's going to die. So, like, one thing you want to know when you get this thing is that with the Providence card, you're going to have to remove this film, this plastic film on the Providence card. If you start, especially if you start seeing like these scratches and such, like if you're like fearing like, oh shoot, I already like damaged this thing, don't worry. You can remove this to proceed to damage it more. Basically, again, just to lightly put it here, I found this out through a channel, Ryoto channel. I think he did like a short, just basically pointing this out and such. So like basically, because this, I mean, again, I applied it, but like, you know, basically you can tell, like by just feeling it, that like there's like a film that you need to remove. So again, just take a nail and then just slide it off and such. I don't think they note that in any instructions. But now I can actually throw it out. Alright, with the Vision Driver, all you need to do is obviously switch it down to turn it on, like so. As you can see, the LEDs, now it's basically kind of the same like the Revice Driver. The Desire Driver, where you can do a lot of things when you don't transform. Like, you can use a Providence card to get just that, or you can immediately jump into using raise buckles right away, which is actually very convenient because I feel like this is actually handled a lot better than the Desire Driver. So like, you can use Shield for example. You'll do the insertion, and then when you press it, it'll play the sound, which that's the same like the Desire Driver and such. So again, here's Chain Array. It's just that now the insertion sounds actually new because there's no set. So if we were to use Magnum, for some reason, that's always the case with the Magnum. For some reason, the first thing you do is the blasting sound, and then it will revert back to the, like, twisting of the revolver. Ninja. Zombie. So it's just really neat to, like, finally have those sounds. Just because it was annoying to not be able to, like, access those within the original belt. Other than that, if we do press this once, we will have the transformation of glare. Let's actually just get this correct. So here's the light animation, just waiting for you to slide the Providence card in. So we're going to take the Providence card out of the holder and simply slot it flat, full side down to transform. There we have the transformation of glare, which this main light combination is basically blue, red, light purple, and white. It's showing up as blue on the camera. Basically, it'll stay like this for about like 30 to 40 seconds, but like that. However, if we swipe this once, we would do the first finisher. I kind of wish there was more, like, even if it was just glare, delete, or something like that. And then if we were to do it twice, it is interesting that it goes from white to yellow and such. That's definitely interesting. Next up, which you can do, you can actually still use the raised buckle slot. So if you were to use propeller, so it'll show the animation of the buckle you inserted, and then we get a really nice standby of the driver, like, glitching out, and then just activate the buckle. To which, I don't know what you call these, like an upgrade attack, but we will use zombie. Just to show that these two are the same. And yeah, so basically the set basically is new and the beginning animation, but other than that, the upgrade attack is the same. Last but not least, if you were to press this top part again, we have the hacking on, which basically allows glare to take control of any DGP rider and such. To which I'm pretty sure the finishers are the same. I don't recall. But anyways, if we were to use a raised buckle now, so it's basically, it starts off the same like when you're not hacking on. It's just Now it's a different standby, and then when we activate the buckle, so now technically this is the more complete version of using the raised buckle, because now we've actually summoned the armed or the raised buckle to forcibly put onto the hacked riders. So now the animation is basically complete. And then another buckle that was used, drill. I apologize, this is not focusing for some reason. So that's... It doesn't really matter how much you do, because it's just whatever. Basically at this point, like, that's the base gist of the functionality of the Vision Driver, to which now at this point, when you're done with the rider, you have to do this monotonous process of just kind of letting it sit, because then you have to wait for it to reset, basically. Like that. Now, if we were to press it twice, this is the same exact animation, just different LED colors. But now we are proceeding to transfer into Gazer with a new standby. Again, use the Providence card like so. Now we are transformed to Kamen Rider Gazer, which I think is probably my favorite of the 3 transformation phrases and such. And yeah, despite the fact he's like now blue and white, he still carries the same color scheme of the Vision Driver. Finishers are the same, it's just they're different light colors. And obviously this is a trick that most people discovered. You can flip the card around so then it's at the side that's not full, so then you can immediately do shutdown. Because basically it just has to think, it's just due to this blank spot that it would just hit the button twice, because you have to like hope the card is like up close. You can't like just, you have to like make sure the card's actually up close. And Gazer can still hack despite the fact he doesn't do it. To the point, the hacking is not... There's no different colors within the hacking and such. We can... Obviously, we can still use raised buckles. But again, he doesn't do that. So, yeah. And I feel like this should probably be stated too. Obviously, this toy was released to way before Sue Gazer. Which, obviously, if that was done before this thing, it probably would have been incorporated, but that's why in the show they purposely just made it just function the same as Gazer. So now at this point we will introduce something. If we were to use a raised buckle beforehand and then activate, it still treats it like normal, but then if we were to press like the buckle, it immediately just wipes it. Meaning, if we press this again, it jumps to the next rider. Again, if we interrupt this, it cancels it. So now, last but not least, we will do the last Vision Driver Rider. With Glare 2, to which we will show off that you can still use a Laser Rays Riser card, as it still fits within the card slot like so. So here we have Glare 2, which basically is a lot of more purple, despite the fact I think Glare 2 technically has a lot more red to the suit. But it's definitely my favorite standby within the belt. Like for the Glare riders, out of the riders within here and such. Again, same finishers. You can't overwrite this. You're kind of stuck with it. And here you have to wait for the belt to light up again to actually do this. And you can't do the shutdown trick with these cards, because I think because they're too thick. Yeah. Anyways, we'll actually show off this, because I forgot to actually bring them up with Gazer, but I might as well bring them up now. So if you were to use a power-up item within this belt, so basically any buckle that makes its own sound within the belt, if you insert it like so, as you can see, I didn't even need to do anything. I just needed to insert it. We'll do that again with Powered Builder. Just and Dukes. However, we will hack. So we will do the two Belroba actually did, because she's the only one that actually utilized this, because it was a Sakamoto arc. So here's Magnum hacked. You don't need to do like the entire gimmick, you just need to at least press it once. So that's unfortunate, but equality, I guess, within all the other buckles. So here's Monster. Alright. Monster, of course, you're just going to have to look the eyelids and such. And then, I don't know who we can show, because obviously we don't want to show too much to the point that we show everything. Actually, we would show the Spider Phone, because this one's actually interesting. This one does the same thing in both without hacking and with hacking. Yeah, the white LEDs really mess with the camera. Yeah, I apologize about that, but yeah, it's pretty interesting that this one still carries over the phoneness of it in a way and such. And then, if we were to Again, use the power up with then hacking. Which is pretty interesting, because to oppose to that, if you actually do use the actual great track, as you can tell, you actually need to activate it. So it does show that they actually went through and changed things and such. And then, I don't know, because I feel like we shouldn't really show any more, because I don't want to spoil too much. I don't know. I think you guys got the gist of it. I only want to do the things technically only done in show, even if we did show some extra stuff. So I hope that just basically summarizes the Vision Driver. I think it should, because I was gonna show off Boost and Boost Mark 2, because I was gonna say I at least like that at least they went through the effort of actually showing the light animations evolve and such with Ninja, how they actually timed it with the actual star. But like, other than that, there's not really much else, and plus some of these might show in their own reviews, so I'm not going to bother. And obviously we are missing a huge subset of like the animations, but we'll get to them when we'll get to them. But I don't know, my thoughts on this, I'm not too big on this belt personally. I don't see the point of this existing. I just see it as a big cash grab of it, like just a big cash grab and just an attempt to basically sell the Demon's Vision, the Demon's Driver again, but in a context that does not make sense. Because my issue with this belt is that it doesn't carry over the concept of the Desire Driver, of the module ability-ness of that belt. Because this belt's, you can't change anything. Like, this belt's not modular, or it doesn't carry that concept and such, because it just, like, it's already its own thing. And it's like, the big, like, Bandai's big selling point is like, well, look at this. This thing has more LEDs now and such. And it's just like, yeah, I guess that's cool. But, like, at the same time, I feel like the animations here are just not that great. Like, I don't like the majority of the animations. I think the majority of the representations, like, I think this driver does a worse job at representing, like, the buckles and such, because some of them I can't even make out what they're supposed to be. Like, I don't understand what monster, I can't see monster out of monster and such. And zombie is honestly one of the worst ones. I don't get why they just went with like basic simplistic, here's just orange, because it's just like, what does this invoke of zombie? Does it blood dripping? Wow, what an effort to animate. like the Demon's Driver, like, while I thought it was just a fine driver, in that, like, I just felt like it was a bit too overhyped, because people were treating it like it was the next big thing, even though it was basically just a standard DX driver that just happened to have that light panel. This one I feel like tries to overachieve it more, of like showing like how more advanced it is and such, and it's just like, again, I just don't like this trend. Like, because I feel like if you're gonna do this kind of thing, at least try to make it work within like what's in the context of the toy line and such, because this thing is honestly so meaningless. Like, yeah, cool that I can read the raise buckles, but I feel like they were basically forced to because they needed some way of actually having people wanting to buy it. I do like the way you transform with this thing. Like, I like that how this is different and all. I do genuinely like how, I guess in the context of Geats, how the future stuff like this and the laser raise riser, like, I do like how these things like basically are connected in a way, and at the same time like are different. It's just that the laser raise riser is just a better toy than this thing. I would have forgot to point this out, but basically because of the holder right here, you can actually use this as a raise buckle holder and such. And I think it's actually pretty solid. It doesn't click in all the way, but it, you know, as long as you don't do anything like drastic, it'll at least stay in there and such. But like, I don't know, it's just like, if you like it, then good on you. I just, personally for me, like, I could really care less about this thing. I only started caring about this belt when Glory 2 got revealed. Because I genuinely thought, like, you know, Glory 2 is probably my favorite, like I said before, like, standby wise, and just, I guess, suit wise. Like, not to the point I want a figure of it, even though Dragon's gonna try to hand down the Glory 2 figure, because he still feels pity that I haven't gotten any Sotos out of Geats, even though I clearly told him I didn't want any. So, like, I don't feel anything for this, basically. There's, like, nothing for me to feel with this belt. Yeah, like, basically, I'm just covering this for the sake of covering it, and basically because Draken has it, it's like, I might as well incorporate it, and such. It's like, at least with the Demon's Driver, it's just like, it's actually fun to, like, you know, like, I'll at least give, like, one thing that this thing does, or this thing has over the Demon's Driver. I really do like that they finally decided to not actually make you interact with the actual screen. Because I always thought it was weird with the Demon's Driver, with especially how expensive a toy it is. They make you put a magnet, like a magnet, onto a plastic screen. Constantly. I get it's for the stamping gimmick, but it's like, guys, this is like an $120 belt or toy. Why are you making us damage our expensive toy? So I like, to the extent of this one, they changed it so then, like, you only, you know, you basically only slide cards into this slot, and then you basically handle everything else by this slot. Like, I prefer that a lot more and such. Like, I said it before, like, the stuff aspects I did like about this toy, but it's just like, other than that, like, again, there's just nothing to talk about with this thing. This toy is just not for me. Like, I feel like it's just that, I feel like that's just the only way I can summarize it. This thing isn't for me, and such. And, you know, it doesn't mean it's a bad toy. Like, I don't want anyone watching this to get out of this. Or I don't want anyone watching this to get out that, or to think that I don't like this toy. It's my same stance on the Demon's Driver. Well, like, I mean, I think the Demon's Driver does a better job at actually incorporating with itself alongside the rest of the toy line. And as I've said constantly, this toy does not. This toy just deviates so heavily from what the Geats toy line has made itself to be. That's why I'm not too big on it and such. And just, again, I'm just not too big on this thing's features and such. But like other than that, like if you want to go for it, then I suggest you do. I would prefer for you to get a US release just because that's going to be a bit cheaper and such, but if you can't, then just try to find this in the aftermarket for like, again, like $120 to like $30 at best, because that's just sadly how much you're going to have to pay for it due to the lights and such. And like if it's your thing, go for it. Why is this overheating? Like at the end of the day, it's your decision on whether or not you want a toy or not. As I've been saying before, do not base your opinions off of others. Try to speak for yourself. You may refer to others, but don't try to use their points to help elevate your point. Even though that's what most people want you to do, you're gonna have to stand on your own because that's just how the world is. But yeah, we're gonna have to deal with this thing in all the reviews, to which I don't know how we're gonna handle that. Actually, I think it will be easy because we would just quickly cut through things and such. But